Hey everybody, I'm Creed and welcome to Creed Saturday Morning, episode 12. Now I noticed that I don't actually announce who I am and what I do at the start of this, but that's actually because the intro I made is specifically made to tell you all about my channel without me having to announce it every time. So if you watch that and there's the heavy metal soundtrack, I am a metalhead. It's mostly cartoons plus a little bit of monster stuff. And it shows all that in the intro, so that's why at the start of every video I don't announce, oh, I'm Creed and I draw this and I draw that. You know it from the intro. So let's get right to it. This is going to recap my next 10 villains in my cartoon villains gallery. And we're going to start off with Quellor, the supreme oppressor of Mavo from the Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. I cannot overstate how much I love this cartoon, and I will be drawing a lot more from it in the future. Quellor runs Mavo, the Monsters and Villains organization, in the Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, which ran 65 episodes in 1987. He was voiced excellently by Les Ly from You Can't Do That on Television. And the show has ancient cities and prophecies. There's villains politics going on in Mavo. They're trying to take over all of Grundo. And Quellor's kind of deep and shallow at the same time. He's just a sort of a cartoon bad guy. But if you really look at a few of the things he's done, I really love the time he tried to kill Teddy with a stalactite. And if he didn't miss, he would have crushed his skull. And he did one of the most mean things I've ever seen in a cartoon. He erased, I don't want to say who, he erased somebody's memory with his box, as seen in the picture. Use that black box. The crystal can erase memory, which I'm already giving away some stuff from the show, but you have to watch the whole show anyway. If you haven't, shame on you. But the crystal erases memory, so he erased somebody's memory, and that person just wandered the earth not knowing who they were for years. That's pretty cruel. So yeah, Quellor's one of my favorites, and what a design! I mean, wow. Reminiscent, of course, of one of my favorites, Blue Devil. But yeah, Quellor, one of the cartoon villains of all time. And next up, we have Cyril Sneer from the Raccoons. The Raccoons is, as far as I know, it's a Canadian production, so I don't know who's seen it elsewhere. But it ran 64 episodes. Including some specials, so roughly from 1980 to 1991. And Cyril Sneer was voiced by Michael McGee, and he really started as a sort of a vicious shark who only wants more trees to cut down to make more money, but that's sort of not sustainable through a whole series, so then he softened into just like a grumpy old curmudgeon. But he's a classic Canadian cartoon villain, and I just had to draw him. Next up is Doc Terror from the Centurions. Centurions ran 65 episodes in 1986, and it was a Ruby Spears cartoon. And basically his main premise is he's trying to conquer the earth and make everyone his cyborg slaves. And the character was voiced by Ron Feinberg. The next cartoon villain I drew was Clayface from Batman the Animated Series. Batman the Animated Series ran for 85 episodes from 1992 to 1995. The voice of Clayface was done excellently by the awesome Ron Perlman from Hellboy, Beauty and the Beast, and 400 other excellent things. A very classic Batman villain, and even in the comics there are many, many versions of Clayface. I really think this is the best version. It is kind of he looks like a full garbage bag kind of a face instead of just a guy in a helmet as he was in lots of comics. And he's really tragic. He's not really meant to be a villain, but it's just how circumstance draws him into it. And his first appearance, Feet of Clay, was written by Marv Wolfman. Next up, we have the guy who's always hungry for Smurf meat. It's Gargamel from the Smurfs. Smurfs ran 256 episodes through the entire 80s, from 81 to 89. He was voiced by the great Paul Winchell, who also voiced Dick Dastardly and Zummy from Gummy Bears. And he's kind of just a bumbling, friendly bad guy. He never really does any harm through the whole show. So you can see from the order I put these in. These are the order I drew them, and I really like to skip around. And variety is what keeps powering me through these villains. I'll just pick a totally different cartoon and draw the next bad guy. So next up is Motherbrain from Captain N the Game Master. And this version of Motherbrain isn't like the video game. It's completely different. This is the only place you'll see that version of Motherbrain is Captain N. Captain N ran 34 episodes from 1989 to 1991. The voice of Motherbrain was Levi Stubbs from the Four Tops, who also did the voice of Audrey 2 in the movie Little Shop of Horrors. And Motherbrain has sufficiently evil plans, but really bumbling henchmen. So next up is Dr. Dred from the Drak Pack. The Drak Pack ran 16 episodes in 1980. Dr. Dred was voiced by Hans Conried, and he's a pretty corny and inept villain, but he has a huge infrastructure and a ton of henchmen. Sadly, the Drak Pack, out of all these shows, the Drak Pack really doesn't stand up as well. But the concept is fantastic. I just think it needs some kind of a remake. Anyway, the next guy is No Heart from the Care Bears. Now, I'm not even a huge fan of the cartoon itself, but I am a huge fan of No Heart. The Care Bears, the Nelvana episodes, there were actually two companies that made the Care Bears. And the other villain for the other company, I can't remember exactly right now. He's a Frost guy or something like that. Not half as cool as No Heart. There were 60 Nelvana episodes from 1986 to 1988. And No Heart was voiced by Chris Wiggins from the Friday the 13th series. And he's really an embodiment of pure evil. So for kind of a lighthearted cartoon about bears that drive cloud cars, he was really like a sinister force in the show. So next up we have Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe, the Real American Hero. And that ran for 95 episodes from 83 to 86. He was voiced by Chris Latta, who also voiced Starscream and Decompose. And also, Chris Latta did the first 4 or 5 episodes of The Simpsons. He did the original voices for Burns and Moe. And if you want to see what he actually looked like, he did stand-up under his other name, Christopher Collins. So you might want to look him up. It's interesting. And last but not least in this recap, it's Professor Monkey for a Head from Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim ran 23 episodes from 1995 to 1996. His voice is done by Charles Adler, and Professor Monkey for a Head made Earthworm Jim's suit, and strangely enough, although it really fits, the monkey is named Monkey Professor for a Head. So those are the next villains in my old cartoon villains gallery, and there'll be a lot more of these recaps coming. I'm getting close to reaching 100. So stay tuned for that, and until next time, have a good one. Well, thanks for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Here's a couple of videos you might want to watch. I made them myself. You never know what I'll draw next. You might want to subscribe to keep up. I'd really appreciate a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on how you feel. And until next time, take her easy.